It's as if we were in a time warp in which we have accelerated at 1.5 times speed, while everyone around us remains in our present, already the path to us, and they blissfully unconsciously go about their ordinary lives, experiencing the growing news, the more urgent advisories and directories, and a vast communal experience, sharing posts and memes about cabin fever, about homeschooling, about social distancing, about how hard it all is while we're living in our makeshift sick ward, living in what will soon be the present for more and more of them. This that I just read was an essay um, from a woman whose husband had COVID 19. And her essay was a pointed picture of how differently an afflicted family can experience the pandemic. In March of 2020, our entire nation was shut down due to an epidemic we know as COVID 19. um, I was actually in Vegas, left, went on a vacation, didn't think twice, had been hearing about it, but didn't think that it was going to be this impactful on all of us. We left, went on a trip, went on our Vegas trip. Probably about 3 days into our trip, they started shutting everything down. My husband and I became really concerned because we didn't want to be in Las Vegas and get stranded. We had been hearing that they were probably about to start shutting a lot more down, airports, and I mean, we just didn't want to get stranded. So we left Vegas after about 3 days, about 4 days, I'm sorry. Came home. As soon as I came home, I received a message from my job basically saying that I couldn't come back into the office. I had to stay at home for 14 days because I had traveled. And that is when I think I knew that it was really, really real. I think that same week, it was the week of maybe the 16th, I think the school started shutting down. And I had no idea what this thing was. I just knew I heard it was a virus. So I kind of started doing research and, because I wanted to know more about it, since it was, I mean, I knew at this point that it was bad. Um, so I did some research and I found out that it was an infectious disease um, that was caused by a newly discovered coronavirus. Basically, it affects your upper respiratory. I think I had heard that there was the first case was possibly in China, in Wuhan, a city in China. They're still tracing the exact source of it. They don't really know, but the early hypothesis thought that it was linked to a seafood market in China. That some people who visited that basically developed viral pneumonia, which was caused by the coronavirus. That was a study that basically came out in January, um, but the first reported case was in December of 2019. But the person who I guess or the individual that first reported it was had no link to the seafood market investigation. So um, it is declared a pandemic because of the speed at which it has spread globally. Um, and it was a type of pandemic that basically relates to a geographical spread and describes a disease that affects the entire country or the whole world. Um, Basically, there's a lot of things that we can actually do to protect ourselves. But before I get into that, um, there's like symptoms. Like there's several symptoms. Um, I know the most common symptoms that I've heard or that I've read about are fever, dry cough, tiredness, nausea, vomiting. Some of the patients, I think they said they have aches and pains. They had nasal congestion, sore throat, diarrhea. They're usually mild, they say, and they begin gradually. Um, more. They say that most people, about 80%, recover from the disease without needing hospital treatment. There is no cure for it. Around 1 out of every 5 people who got COVID became seriously ill and developed difficulty in breathing. Um, Older people and those that have kind of like underlying medical issues, heart, lung problems, diabetes, cancer, are at higher risk. Um, However, anyone can actually catch COVID-19, and they can transmit the virus. Um, they can actually transmit the virus. Sorry, from a person that's infected with the virus. So that's why it is definitely important for us to stay at least 3 to 6 feet away from each other. Researchers do indicate that the children and adolescents are likely to become infected, are just as likely to become as infected as any other age group, and can spread the disease. Possible ways that you can actually prevent, or the most effective ways you can do, you can protect yourself and others. You can clean your hands frequently, guys. Avoid touching your eyes, your nose, your mouth, and cover your cough. When you cough, and maintain distance, social distancing. And I think that we've all been hearing that in the news. It's definitely really important for us to effectively practice social distancing, since that is how you can contract it if someone sneezes or coughs. Um, but I also think, although, guys, I know that this was, this hit us pretty hard, um, and I think that we're all trying to kind of figure out what's next. But I think it's important, and I read this from, I think his name was Robert. I can't think of his name, y'all. This was someone I read, like, he was basically asking what was the rest of our plan and what do we choose to do. So basically, guys, we can react to the circumstances. We can take ownership of our individual power, and we can just create change in our lives. I think this time has truly given me time to reconnect, to slow down, to breathe, and just to connect with my family. Although what you see here is possibly going to be our new normal for the next few months, so y'all, let's just thank God that we're alive and enjoy our families and be happy and take this time to just connect in a way um, that we never connected before. Help your neighbor. I know they say practice social distancing, but I think everyone is in need of something right now. So whatever you can do to help, I think this is now the time. I think that in the end, we will remember that the virus created a global pandemic where countries closed their borders, travel stopped, restaurant closed, and physical contact or group gatherings became taboo. Um, but it is also, we can also choose to come together, to believe in or fail to fear, to live or to die. So be safe, guys. Wash your hands, and God bless you all.